Why don't we have a run down the starting order? In pole position, we have Luke Allen, then Elias Sapanen, Josh Smith, Shihab Al-Habsi, Muiz Mushafir, Alistair Young, Malte Jacobson, Folky Wongse Charan, Yash Aradia, and Sneha Sharma. You can see there Luke taking control and bringing all the cars into their respective starting positions for the start of the race. Of course, as always, this race fueled by Petron Ron 100 and Petron fuel and racing engine oil, as always. As we see, everybody now is coming into their positions. Sneha taking up position 10 at the back there in the purple number 9, while Luke Allen readies himself in front of Josh Smith, and just behind him on the third row, Muiz Mushafir. Muiz may be the man to look out for because he's been improving his lap times. He was matching Luke Allen in the last race, and he might be able to show something this time around. But of course, we know Elias Sapanen's going to have something to say about that, and looks like Malte Jacobson might as well, because he goes very far up outside to get around the outside of Muiz Mushafir until he's blocked off by Alistair Young, and he goes up the inside of Alistair Young, while Luke Allen gets away clearly and blinks us through turn 1 without any incident. And it looks like Elias Sapanen maintains his second position, and just behind him, Josh Smith. Shihab Al-Habsi now dicing with Alistair Young just behind for fourth position. These two drivers may be able to show us something, because we know Alistair starting to set fastest sectors of the race last time around. As we come now through turn 3, Shihab Al-Habsi up the inside of Alistair Young, while Muiz Mushafir has suffered and is back into 7th position, I believe. It'll be interesting to see what happened to Malte Jacobson, because he had a good line off the start and he got around the outside, it looked, of Muiz Mushafir, so he might actually be the 7th place driver. We'll have an update for you in just a moment when they cross the start-finish line, as Luke Allen brings us through turn 4 with Elias Sapanen from Finland just behind him and Josh Smith just behind both of them. Let's have a look now. Josh Smith, interesting enough, actually doing the fastest top speed, I should say, over 207.2 at least at the moment. So that's good for the Aussie. It's a good thing to start off with, while Luke Allen does a 38.353 in the first sector, and Elias Sapanen in the 38.313. So Elias definitely on the pace. You can see the gap between the top two drivers isn't really very much at all noticeable, because Elias is on the pace, and he's going to be right up behind the Irishman, who is quickly becoming his rival in this championship. As said Irishman leads us now up into, this looks like the straight before turn 12. Yes, indeed it is. Here you see a shot. There you go. There's the car tucking down under braking as they turn into turn 12. Elias just a little bit too far back to make anything happen. Let's see the lap times as they come across the start-finish line. We've got 1:44.628 from Luca, 1:45.627 from Elias, and 1:46.207 from Josh. So there you are, ladies and gentlemen. Luca Allen coming out on top in lap times that time around, and Elias Sapanen just behind him. So here we go down the straight now into turn 3. We've seen a lot of maneuvers happen here before, and Malte Jacobson is definitely on the pace, because he's setting himself up to take Alistair Young, it looks like, through turn 3. We've seen it happen before, and he may be doing it again. Let's have a quick look now a little bit further down the grid and see if anything can happen between these two drivers. They should be appearing on the bottom of your screen in just a moment. There's Josh Smith for you as he comes out of the exit. Here's what we're talking about. That's actually Shihab Al-Habsi, if I'm not mistaken, not Malte Jacobson. Malte just a little bit further behind with the orange car, I think. Yes, that's correct. He's the red number 8. You can see definitely past Muiz Mushafir, and Alistair Young up the inside of Shihab Al-Habsi. Shihab running very, very wide indeed on the outside of turn 4. Might be able to maintain things and maybe switch back coming out of turn 5, dive up the inside of turn 7. Can he do it? No, he decides to dive in behind Alistair, maybe get a bit of the slipstream so he can make a move coming out of turn 9. That's exactly what he's going to try and do, but Alistair Young blocking him off. The rule is you can come off the racing line and come back on the racing line one time to defend. That's exactly what Alistair did, so that's good driving from him as we come around turn 9 now, up into the little cork here of 10 and 11 before we down into turn 12. That's going to be the next position for these drivers to make a move, because there's going to be a hard braking point about 50 meters before the corner. Alistair Young here defending still from Shihab Al-Habsi. As we come around turn 12, this is good news for Malaysians though, ladies and gentlemen, because they're up into position 4. They're setting lap times of 1:44.627, which is definitely off the leader, but you gotta consider that these drivers are defending, and the man at the front of the grid, Luke Allen, has a lot of space in front of him to really stretch his legs. In fact, he's doing a 1:43.883, which is 2/10 faster than Elias Sapanen, which is exactly what he needs to do to maintain position. Although, interestingly enough, Alistair Young setting the fastest first sector out of anybody and has the highest top speed last lap around, but Shihab Al-Habsi not deterred by that. He's going up the inside of Alistair Young here at turn 3, and he looks like he's going to close the door on the Malaysian driver, who gets pushed very wide, comes into contact with the rear left tire of Shihab Al-Habsi and definitely damaged his wing. I saw he got bent up. Unfortunate news there for Malaysian. That's going to hurt him. That's actually happened to him here last year as well. But maybe he can try and take something back. He's not deterred at all by this situation with his front wing, which you can see is quite dire indeed as we come into turn 5 now, with the Malaysian just behind the Omani. And just behind both of them, we've got Denmark. Malte Jacobsen is taking advantage of this scuffle for 4th position, and he might be able to find a way to leapfrog up into podium at the end of the race, with Josh Smith only just out of reach at the moment, lapping about 1/10 faster than Alistair Young. So it's not over and done for yet, ladies and gentlemen, as we have Shihab Al-Habsi leading Alistair Young, Malte Jacobsen and Muiz Mushafir around turn 10 and 11. And we might see something happen now as we break into turn 12 in just a moment's time. Let's see what these drivers can show us, because there's a lot more racing to come with 14 minutes and 50 seconds left on the board. Here we go around turn 12. Muiz Mushafir having a little bit of look. Muiz is the orange car at the back of the grid there. He's right up behind Malte Jacobsen, though he's getting a huge slipstream down this straight, but you can see the effect already of losing his front wing and his right end plate there. On Alistair Young, he's already dropping it back a little bit from Shihab Al-Habsi, lapping 3/10 slower, so you can see the effect that the loss of that arrow is having on the Malaysian driver. While back at the front of the grid, Elias Sapanen breaking into the 1:43s as Muiz Mushafir tries up the inside of turn 2. He's going to go very wide now at turn 3 and try to dive in. He's going to switch back. No, he doesn't have enough space because Malte covers him there. He's got to go all the way around the outside, so he's going to lose a little bit of speed. Malte Jacobsen might be able to maintain his position if he can just hold on down the straight. He might be able to go around the outside at turn 4. We've seen that happen a lot here in Formula 4 Southeast Asia. Every year we're here in Thailand at the Buriram United International Circuit, but this time not quite, because Malte Jacobsen doesn't quite have the momentum, having to have the inside line there through turn 1 and not being able to run wide where Muiz was in position to block him out, as the Malaysian driver now regains the position he had at the start of the race and is moved up into 6th, if I'm not mistaken, as we come now through turn 8 down into the right-handed turn 9. And unfortunate news from Denmark there, but great racing to watch, and I'm sure it's not over yet, because Malte's got he's got something to prove here with Muiz Mushafir. He's not going to let him get away from him. Both drivers lapping in the 1:45. Actually, in fact, Muiz managing to lap. Oh, I'm mistaken there. That's Alistair Young getting into the 1:44s. Muiz and Malte doing 1:45s, just as Muiz now comes down through turn 12, with Malte just behind him, and Luca Allen, of course, still at the front of the grid, with Elias Sapanen just behind him in the red number 58 car, as we just saw. Interesting to note, ladies and gentlemen, that Shihab Al-Habsi just set the fastest second sector with a 38.155 off the lap so far. That's about 400ths of a second faster than anybody else, so he's not out of contention for a podium position just yet, as he's lapping in the 1:43s, and Josh is still in the 1:44s. In fact, Shihab set his fastest lap last time around, and Josh Smith is about 5/10 off last time around. So let's see what Oman can show us, and perhaps we'll have him back up on the podium once again this weekend before the end of the race, and with 12 minutes 20 seconds left to go, that's a definite possibility, as Luca Allen in the blue number 3 brings us through turn 4 now, I believe. Very interesting corner here at turn 4. I can actually see it out the commentator's window as well. Great fun to watch these cars pile through this very high-speed corner, and you can see there's a little bit of a mistake, which I think Alistair Young made on the outside there at turn 4, I should say. It does definitely affect you, because Muiz Mushafir now is right up behind his Malaysian comrade, and we should see him appear on the left of your screens in just a moment. There you go. That's the orange car just behind the pink of Alistair Young. That's definitely going to be what's affecting him. As you can see, his wing is bent up. He lost a little bit of a aero downforce coming through turn 4, and Muiz is just capitalizing on that at the moment. I'm sure he's going to be attacking his Malaysian teammate in just a moment through turn 12, without a doubt, because there's a hard braking corner. Let's see what happens. And there's another 2 red cars, actually, I just spotted out the window that are fighting for position as well. Is that Josh Smith catching up to Elias Panin? No, it's not. It's Shihab Al-Habsi side by side with number 5, Josh Smith. Let's have a look at the front of the grid coming into turn 1. They're side by side. Shihab Al-Habsi's on the left there in the red number 34. Oh, very, very close. Might have been a little bit of contact. Couldn't quite make it out, but Shihab doesn't seem to have been slowed down by it. While back at the front of the grid, both of the top drivers doing 1:43.5s. Luke Allen 600ths of a second slower than the second place driver. But look at this, side by side now through turn 2. What's Josh Smith going to do? He's going to have to go very far to the outside, trying to cut back on the inside. There we go, here's the cut. He's going to try and dive up the inside. No, he doesn't decide to do that. He decides to duck in behind Shihab Al-Habsi, who at least for the moment seems to have a little bit more speed than the Aussie, who is actually slowed down slightly this lap, lapping 3/10 slower than the last time around. But now he's got the aero, the aero effect, the slipstream, and it's not going to help him through turn 4 there, where you actually it actually hurts you to be in the wash of another car. But I'm sure he's going to pick up the pace and come back and show a man what Australia has to offer. As let's have a look further down the grid. The battle for 4th position now between, I should say 5th position now, between Alistair Young, Muiz Mushaffer and Malte Jacobsen is really heating up. That's the orange car, number 13 of Muiz Mushaffer, has found a way past Alistair Young, who's been slowed down by his the loss of his front aero, the partial loss of his front aero, which is bent up at what seems to be a 45-degree angle on the right-hand side. And there's definitely an end plate on the right missing as well. Muiz lapping very well at the moment, 1:44.182, so he's got the pace even to catch up to Josh Smith if he's got enough time. 10 minutes left. Might be able to make it happen as we come down the start-finish straight. Let's have an update on the positions. We got Luke Allen leading from the first lap, but Elias Panin closing in with only an 8/10 gap as we cross the line. Just behind him, Shihab Al-Habsi and Josh Smith. Shihab lapping slightly faster than the Australian at the moment, but I'm sure he's not going to be happy about that, and will show us what he has in the laps to come. And with another 4 laps or so to go, he's got plenty of time to get that position back. Just behind them now we have Muiz Mushaffer, who's already getting a little bit of a gap from Alistair Young, who is effectively blocking out Malte Jacobsen from moving forward at the moment. And Yash Ardia, Folky Wongste Charan and Sneha Sharma bring up the rear of the grid, of course, battling for positions and points still between the 2 Indian drivers and the new Thai who joins us this weekend. As we now come up to turn 4 with Shihab Al-Habsi and Josh Smith. But what I want to see what's happening on the left of your screens, the battle for 5th, 6th and 7th. Muiz Mushaffer still trying to catch up to Josh Smith. There is a significant gap though of 2 seconds, and with only 4 laps to go, I'm not sure if Muiz can catch the Aussie who's just ahead of him, but Malte Jacobsen doesn't have to worry about that just yet. He has to focus on the purple car, or the pink car indeed, just ahead of him, and he's doing just that, sweeping every way, trying to get past the Malaysian, who has a little bit more experience here at Thailand. But of course Malte is not going to let that phase him. As we can see, he's all over the back of that pink car, looking for a way past. He's going to try and make a move now through turn 12 for sure, where we've got a bit of a hard-braking corner, a bit more opportunity to try and get past. There we go, he's already side by side. Going to come around the outside of turn 12, or will he switch back to the inside line? No, he's going to go all the way around the outside, but he doesn't quite manage to, and decides against it. He's going to now slip down into the slipstream and try to make a move through turn 1, or perhaps more wisely through turn 3. Back to the front of the grid though, we have Elias Panin setting the fastest lap of the race, finding his time in the second sector by 2/10, and that's exactly what he's done, 2/10 faster, setting a 1:43.432. So now let's have a look back to the battle for 6th position now with Alistair Young and Malte Jacobsen just behind him. That's turn 2, that little rumble strip there. Malte is in position to make a move here, maybe not quite close enough, but he could switch back and get a better exit, which the loss of aero on Alistair's car may allow him to do. And in fact, this turn 4 may be the best opportunity for Malte to overtake Alistair, because that's where he's going to suffer the most without that front wing. Is he close enough to make a move? Maybe not quite yet, but you can see Muiz Mushaffer is closing in on the man in front of him, Josh Smith. The gap now only 1.1 seconds. We've seen Muiz do this before. In the last race last year, he closed in a 2-second gap in 4 laps to overtake Alessandro Giretti for position. As let's have a look further down the grid at turn 6. We've got Alistair Young still trying to defend himself from Malte Jacobsen. We're just a little bit too far ahead of the action, but I can see it out my window. Looks like Malte is still just behind Alistair as they come through turn 9. Up into turn 10 though, Malte is sticking his nose in. Doesn't quite manage to lock it in as we come through turn 10. Still the Malaysian is holding on for position, and you can see them on screen now. Actually, it looks like Malte's had some damage because his right rear tire is at a very funny angle and he's losing significant speed. And it looks like, no, he's definitely stopping. He's coming into the pit lane. There we go. We'll have to try and find out what happened later on to his car, but I'm for sure thinking that it's got something to do with the battle between him and Alistair. As we come now back to the front of the grid with Luke Allen and Elias Lapanen. The gap now 0.6 of a second, still just slightly outside of striking distances. Elias Lapanen as we come through turn 3 with 5 minutes 38 seconds on the timer. That's about 3 laps left as Elias Lapanen takes a little bit of a slow looking line. Seems like Luke Allen gets a little bit of a better exit coming out of turn 3, but I'm not one to judge. I'm not a racing driver. Perhaps that's exactly the right thing the young Finnish man should be doing as they come through turn 4 now, because the gap definitely seems to be back under 0.6 of a second for sure. Let's have a look at the times in the first sector. 26.0 from Elias Lapanen, 25.9 from Luke Allen, as now we're back on screen with Alistair Young. Let's have a look to the front of the grid perhaps, and we can see the battle for first and second position. There we go, blue number 3 car with Elias Lapanen, the red number 58 just behind him. Update on the sector times. We got 38 dead from Elias Lapanen, 38.076 from Luke Allen as we come through turn 10 now with the Irishman still at the front of the pack. Fantastic driving from him to lead from the first lap, putting himself on pole by virtue of his second fastest time from qualifying, but Elias Lapanen has got him in his sights. He still has the faster best lap time, and his last lap was within 1/10, within 0.08 of a second really of Luke Allen. Let's have a look at the gap. It's still 0.6 of a second, almost exactly the same time as they crossed the start line the last time around. And they're both doing 1:43.473 and Luke Allen 1:43.489, so within 100th of a second. That's how close this competition is. But Elias Lapanen's got to try and find something now. Coming through turn 2, that's the little rumble strip in blue. You can see on the right hand side of your screen. Elias just a little bit too far back to make anything happen with the blue number 1 car. But let's have a look at Shihab Al-Habsi. He's up in the 3rd position. And he's still lapping well, 1:43.565, so really he's on pace with the leaders within 1/10 of a second, but he's just a little bit too far back, having been stuck in the fight with Josh Smith for 3rd position at the beginning of the race as the leaders now come through turn 4. Elias Lapanen still too far behind to make anything happen. Great driving from Luke Allen to put him in that position, but you can see the gap closing now as we go through the slightly slower sectors, if there's such a thing, here at the Buriram United International Circuit, which seems to be pretty much full throttle from the time you cross the start-finish line, as the leaders now take us through turn 7, turn 8, down into turn 9. The complicated section of turn 10 and 11 before the hard braking point of turn 12. That might be a chance for Elias Lapanen to outbrake his Irish rival, but maybe not, because the gap, as we said at the start of the lap, is still 0.6 of a second. Let's see if there's anything else going on further down the order. There just seems to be a battle between 2 red cars, looks like for 4th position. Actually, that's a red car and an orange car. That's Muiz Mashaffer. He's closing in on 4th place. That's Josh Smith. Both drivers lapping in the 1:43s, but Muiz about 4/10 faster last time around, which they both set their fastest lap times, interestingly to note. That's bad news for Australia, but good news for Malaysia, because they may be able to get up into a top 5 position, a top 4 position, and unfortunately, of course, with only 2 minutes left to go on the board, that's really only 1 lap, maybe 2 laps at the most. So we're not going to see a Malaysian on the podium this weekend, but Muiz Mashaffer's not going to let us down. He's going to find his way around Josh Smith, I'm sure, but the Aussie's not going to be happy about that. He's not going to let it go easily. He's going to defend beautifully as he's driven all weekend. He's just got to find a little bit of pace. He seems to be losing the time in sector 1, really. That's where Muiz is. Sorry, that's incorrect. I don't have that information at the moment, but coming through turn 4 now, let's have Luke Allen in car number 3, the blue number 3 car, the front of the grid there, as he has been from the start of the race. Elias Lapanen is driving very well, lapping slightly faster, at least the last lap where he was 0.05 of a second quicker than the man in front of him, but it's not enough. It's not enough to close that gap, which is now 5.5 tenths. And really at this circuit with this confluence of high-speed corners, you need to be within 2 or 3 tenths to make something stick, unless you're looking at perhaps outbraking your rival at turn 12. And that's the section we're coming up to. Here's turn 11. Final corner of the circuit now. Just this is the straight now up into turn 12. Here we go. Can Elias make anything happen? No, he's just too far back to really try safely any maneuver as they come around turn 12 now. I wonder if this will be the last lap board, or is there going to be one more lap after this? There we go, up on screen now. We've got the final lap displayed. I don't see the last lap board, but there we are. Yes, indeed, there we go. That means for sure we're on the last lap. And this is the last chance for Elias Sapanen to make anything happen. He's gone a little bit down. He's lost 0.02 of a second on Luca Allen that last lap. So the gap is now 6 tenths again. Luca finding his time in the first sector, setting the fastest first sector out of anyone in the race so far, while Josh Smith comes to life in the closing sectors of the race to set a 37.902, the fastest second sector of the race so far. Hopefully he's going to be able to hold off the man just behind him, Muiz Mushafa, in the orange number 13 car. They're just behind these two coming through turn 3 now. I can see them out the window as Luke Allen and Elias Sapanen have been doing so for the entire race. They're leading at a little bit of a gap of 4.5 seconds now, back to third position. Luke has driven beautifully, but Elias Sapanen is not going to take that into consideration. The gap, 0.6 of a second. If Elias wants to do something, he's got to make it happen now. He's only a couple of hundreds up in the first sector, and he's actually a little bit. He's got 2 tenths in the second sector, so he might be able to make something happen. You can see the gap is so close there now. This might be what Elias was waiting for. The last lap, the last corner. Take Luca, and when he's the most tired from the entire race, keeping the young Finnish driver behind him, but it may not be enough because the gap is just a little bit too large in my opinion. But let's see what Elias can do as we come through turn 12. Can he make anything happen? He's going to have to brake very late indeed if he wants to try, but I think he's decided against it. Maybe the best choice for him is to take that second position, but Muiz Mushafa is now going to try and do something on Josh Smith. Look at how close they are as they cross the start-finish line, with Malaysia coming in 5th overall, just behind Josh Smith, Shihab Al-Habsi, Elias Sapanen and Luca Allen. And there's the checkered flag being waved for all of these young drivers that come across the start-finish straight one final time, with Elias Sapanen finally finding his way past Luca Allen, but unfortunately it's only on the victory lap. I'm sure that's a very frustrated young driver, but you can't blame Luca Allen for driving so beautifully to keep the young Finishman behind him. Of course, Luca is fighting for the overall championship, so is Elias, but important to note that Elias has a second championship to fight for. That's the rookie title, and he's leading that scoreboard as we speak, with Josh Smith now leading us through turn 4, just ahead of the orange car, number 13 of Muiz Mushafa. It's a fantastic race to watch, and I enjoyed it thoroughly. Some great battles further down the grid, while some fantastic flawless driving between Luca Allen and Elias Sapanen. And unfortunately for us watching at home, both drivers drove slightly too flawlessly without making a single mistake, lapping consistently in the 143s, and really that gave neither of them the chance to give us anything interesting to watch. But let's have a run down the finishing positions. We've got Luca Allen in first, as we all know. Elias Sapanen just behind him, while Shihab Al-Habsi rounds out the top 3. Australia's Josh Smith just loses out to the Omani man in third position to finish 4th, with the 2 Malaysians finishing 5th and 6th, while the new Indian driver this weekend, Yash Aradia, finishes in 7th. A strong outing for him, just ahead of Falki Wongsecharan, Sneha Sharma and Malte Jacobson, who was forced to retire after something happened to his right rear tyre, presumably in the battle between himself and Alistair Young for 6th position, after Alistair lost his front right wing, or I shouldn't say lost, after it was bent up at a funny angle and he lost his front right end plate. So important to note that he did fantastically there to maintain his position. And really with that, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of the race. Before we go, though, let's have a quick highlights. Here we are. this should be the start of the race now. There we go. Luke Allen gets away. Malte Jacobson tries to go up the inside, just so beautifully on Moise Mashaffer, while Josh Smith blocks out Shihab Al-Habsi, who subsequently blocks out Alistair Young just behind him, with Luke Allen leading us through the corner without any collision. As Alistair Young now tries to make a move on the inside of Shihab Al-Habsi, but Josh Smith is in the way and trying to make a look, make something happen on the driver just ahead of him, Elias Tapanin. But Elias has a fantastic start, and unfortunately the Aussie ends up blocking Shihab and Alistair from making any moves at that corner, while Luke Allen leads us from the start of the race through turn 4, turn 5 here now, with Elias just behind him and everyone else piling through the grid. As we said, there were significant battles in the mid-grid with Malte Jacobson, Moise Mashaffer, Shihab Al-Habsi and Josh Smith. I'm sure Yash and Folky as well had a fantastic race, although we didn't capture everything they had to show us on the live stream. But here's Alistair Young coming around the outside of Shihab Al-Habsi. He tries to get back, but he collides with the left rear tire there of Shihab. That may be a similar situation to what happened to Malte's car. You can see Malte here making a move on Moise Mashaffer up the inside at turn 9. Beautiful driving there from the Dane, who unfortunately loses the position back to the Malaysian at the end of the race before fighting another Malaysian, Alistair Young, and being forced to retire. But here's the fight between Josh Smith and Shihab Al-Habsi for third position. The Omani coming out on top. Back now to the fight for sixth position with Alistair Young and Malte Jacobson. I wish we could see what happened to the Danish driver, but I'm not sure we caught it on camera. But we'll be sure to have a word with him after the race and update everybody on social media if possible. As we come now with the two aforementioned drivers through turn 12. Not a thing happened to the right rear of Malte's car, but there you can see already that's the first shot we have of him with the damage to his right rear, so presumably something happened in the third sector of the lap which forced him to retire. You can see that rim is at a very strange angle indeed. But here back to the man of the race, really, Luke Allen, who led from pole position, putting himself there by virtue of his second fastest time from qualifying, and keeping the young Finishman Elias Tapanin, who I'm sure is extremely frustrated, behind him the entire race. Indeed, you can see the checkered flag being waved there as the Irishman pumps his fists in victory, and Moise Mashaffer coming side by side with Josh Smith at the end of the race, but just not quite enough to make it happen. As you can see, he ended up in fifth position, rounding it off nicely for Malaysian. Okay, so really, ladies and gentlemen, for me, that's it. And for us, really, in Formula 4 Southeast Asia, that's it this weekend. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you again next time.